Thank you for joining us on the very first episode of the Lived Health Conversations podcast, where science meets story. I am Jen Wilson. This is Emma Thomas.
Hello.
We have decided to do this podcast because we want to bring forward voices of lived experience. We were both very inspired by David Hamilton's Accept the Diagnosis, Not the Prognosis. If you've been diagnosed with a chronic health condition, there is every chance that you feel a little bit let down by the support that's available through the traditional healthcare service. And it's not their fault the way the system is built. It's not your fault. It's the path that you have been given. We both have our own lived experience stories. I was going to say we were brought together by another organisation. We weren't, because we were friends before that organisation came in.
Yeah.
But they kind of inspired this to move forward.
Yeah, I think being part of that group has enabled us to feel that actually we're not on our own in this, that there's a nice group of people that are really inspirational as well, which has really helped me.
Yeah. And it's opened our eyes to the fact that our stories are really important and we need to share them, and we need to share other people's stories to help inspire other people who have maybe been handed a diagnosis and gone, what do I do now? Because that's definitely how I felt when I had my big diagnosis.
Yeah. I think the big thing that came up as well for a lot of the interviews that we're doing, a lot of the podcasts that we're doing is, and it's what Holly Anna mentioned when we were away at conference last year, was that determination, that belligerence of like, I know what you're saying and I understand why that might be the case, but actually that's not true for me, and I'm not going to accept that. Even if I don't get fully well, I know that I don't have to live like this, because for me, mental health and physical health now, going through what I've done, I'm not disconnected. And people looking at my eyes and my lungs and my heart and stuff, but they didn't know how I was feeling either. And those moments where they were like, this is just who you are now, were the moments in my life where they could have gone either way. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about my mental health in recent years and noticing my patterns, how I got myself through that, but actually how intrinsically linked those diagnoses were within that, how that led into my physical health, how the physical health led back into my mental health. And so I think that's a really important part, that, you are diagnosed and that's a really difficult moment in life, but it doesn't have to define who you are for the rest of your life. I think that's been a huge message that's come through.
Yeah, it's not a life sentence.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not the end, it's the end of part of your journey, and it's a great opportunity. You're at the fork in the road. Which path are you going to take to move forward? What responsibility are you prepared to take on to help yourself on this journey? And that doesn't mean that you have to do it all by yourself. There are people like myself and Emma that work in different modalities to help from a therapeutic stance, and there are lots of other people we're bringing them into the conversation in following podcasts to help educate you, to help inspire you, and to know what is possible, no matter what your diagnosis is.
And, the big message for me is always, you're not broken. Just because you have this, it doesn't mean to say that it's the end of everything. You can live a healthy life with chronic illness. And in actual fact, the way I look at it now, which sounds a little bit trite, but I think I could say after 30 years of struggling through my own crap, that it's kind of the thing that made me. It's the thing that rebuilt me again, was researching, getting curious, finding out who I was underneath it all. Because that's the thing where I felt broken. If I couldn't be myself, then such a big topic.
Yeah, and I think on my journey, a lot of this has been unlearning things that has helped me. And I remember when I first started in the spiritual journey, like finding yourself, coming back to yourself, and I was like, what are these people talking about? Like, it's like billions. But the more that I'm learning and unlearning, it's like, oh, this is who I am at the essence of myself. Here are all the layers that I've put in to try and be accepted by society, which have then fuels me, losing that connection to myself.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of my programs were called Reconnection, and people might not understand that, but actually from 17 on, I've been piecing myself back together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those parts of me that didn't, some of me didn't really feel human. Do you know what I mean? They're now in my 50s, and I'm, happy, healthy, thriving. Is everything perfect? No, but it's a lot better than it was when I was 17. Yeah. So there is hope out there. That's the one big message. And to use this as a source of information, inspiration, and, to share your stories too. That's why we wanted to be here.
Yeah, and it's to open a conversation as well. So if you have got questions as you're listening to the different episodes as you go through, then please do put them into the comments and we'll be able to catch them. We'll also put into the show notes how you can get in contact with ourselves to see what else we're doing. We are looking at building this out into a community support, potentially a course.
Yeah.
To not give people a do this exact thing and you'll get this exact outcome. While that's all sexy in the sales world, it's not practical. I have followed many blueprints of other people's paths, whether it's been health, whether it's been business, whether it's been fitness, and they haven't worked for me. And then I've always turned that on myself. I'm not doing it right. I'm not trying hard enough, whatever. When I then let that go and started this part of the journey of coming into it, well, what does health look like for me? It's been different at different phases in my life, and what works for me now maybe didn't work for me previously. What worked for me previously might not be working for me now, and it's having the flexibility to let go of certain practices and to bring other practices in.
Yeah, I think, if we look at what we're going to bring over the long term, it's more that what information can we give you to support what you're already doing, to support the information that you're already finding out about yourself, to rediscover different things that you might not know about. And obviously these conversations really help with that because they're all different but similar. you know?
There definitely is a spoiler alert for them. There is a lot of determination. There is curiosity, questioning. Going into different modalities and exploring different things, and then getting curious about the curiosity.
And strength, and not in the way of like pushing or forcing through, but even though when we've been at our lowest, finding that edge that says, okay, no, I'm just going to take a step back for now and see it slightly differently. So maybe, it's a different way to look at your health. That's maybe how we should define it really quickly. A different way to look at the journey that you're now on so that you can experience it a little bit. I don't know, just more wide ranging.
Wide ranging, but I think it's not about doing more. Quite often it's about doing less. What can you take away? What can you let go of? And that might be beliefs, it might be habits. And clearing space, because we can't see the wood for the trees, right? So it's how do we get to take that step back and be honest with ourselves and get back into that point of trust. Trust in ourselves. Like you always have that little, when somebody says something to you and you know it's not true, you feel it physically in your body. We were trained from a very young age to disconnect from that. When we started at nursery or at school, you were taught how to behave, when to eat, when to drink, when to sleep, all the rest of these things, rather than being able to tune into your own body. So if we can start to unlearn these things, to hear the knowledge and wisdom of your own body.
I think the message from what I've heard as well, mostly within this lived experience realm, is that the practitioners that have got lived experience, even with the GP that we spoke to, was like, it allows us to see things differently because we kind of know what it's like in some ways to be where you are, or we don't know your exact journey or where you're exactly at or what you're experiencing, but we can sit with you in that. And that's something that maybe that hierarchical approach has never allowed before. And, to me, with my clients, it's not that I'm a way off and I know all the answers. I'm still learning about my own health too. It's just that the bits that you need to know, I've already been there. So it's kind of getting you over those points where you might be stuck right now. By the time you get to here, I've gone a little bit further. So you know, it's just that way. I mean, I was 17 when I was diagnosed, so it's been a long time of learning, and I literally needed this kind of support when, you know, when I was there, and it just wasn't there.
Didn't exist.
No, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
No.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your journey?
I can do. What would you like to know about my journey?
What happened at 17?
So at 17, I was away with a boyfriend, an ex-boyfriend in Cambridge. Just had a normal night, and I started to watch the telly in the evening. I was like, my eyes really sore, and so we just switched it off, went to bed really early, and then I woke up the next day and I couldn't look at light. The curtains were closed, I had sunglasses on, and still I had pain. And so his mum was actually a nurse, and he was like, what does she need? And she was like, I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like, you know, painkillers, whatever you need to get. So I went home on the Monday. I went to see the GP, who gave me some little drops and said, try it, but I'm going to actually speak to the hospital because I think I know what this is. I was still in a lot of pain, and I went to the emergency ophthalmology clinic the next day, and they kindly said, an old consultant that looked me in the eye at 17 and said, yeah, this might come back, it might not, but we think it's what they call an autoimmune disease. So your body's attacking itself, and you know, you might get it back, you might not, but probably you've got this for life, and this is just who you are now. And I was on my own, 17. I'm not sure if I can even connect to that moment where I was like, what? What do you mean? This isn't just something that can be like fixed. You know, the drops worked miraculously. And so I just thought, well, I hope it doesn't come back, and just kept going. My lifestyle didn't change. I still was working. I was apprentice in a hairdresser's. My smoking and drinking carried on, my poor sleep, my bad eating, all of that, it just carried on until it started to really come back all the time. Not so much then, but it in my 20s it came along and bit me on the arse as I moved out with a new partner at the time in my 20s, and it started to come back because I obviously hadn't stopped smoking. I hadn't changed any lifestyle at all, as you don't, because I didn't know actually.
Nobody tells you.
And we're talking a long time now.
Yeah.
And it started to come back with a vengeance, to a point where I ignored it, and actually the GP that I spoke to and said I need an appointment at the ophthalmology department, he was like, we can't get you in, which was actually an untruth, I would say. And I left it over the weekend, and by the time I got into clinic on the Monday, I had what they call like a hypopion, which everything is, I'm starting to go blind, basically. Yeah. Let's just describe it like that. And so I had to have my first beautiful injection in the back of my eye, which was like, you know, like opening it up, cutting, and then getting it up the back of my eye to calm everything down. Yeah, it was unpleasant. But they were great. And actually the woman, you know, because obviously they deal with surgery as well, and ophthalmology, it's not just medicine then. She was great, really settling. She was like, I'm so sorry that you've had to experience that. But during that time, over 2 years, I lost the sight in that eye. I had a huge cataract, and they referred me to a specialist in Cambridge as well. And so it went on. And so by the time I was 24, he'd said to me, why still smoking? I mean, I hated him, but he said, why still smoking? And I said, well, I can't give up. So he gave me the information that I needed, and I promptly gave up. And then had my cataract operation. And it's a whole, you know, whenever I go into it, it's not just a one thing. So during the cataract operation, they sent me for a routine chest x-ray, and then they found sarcoidosis as well, which is like swelling. You can get it on your lower legs, but it's like little swellings that were in my lung. You can get it, but it was in my eyes as well. Yeah. I never had any symptoms, thankfully, but it wasn't, when they said you've got something on your lung, I immediately was like,
panic.
Yeah, as a smoker as well. So yeah, 24 and feeling like I was about 80, and then being put into a clinic with 80-year-olds for a cataract operation. Yeah. So that was
a little bit of a wake-up call, isn't it?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit, yeah. So that was kind of, even though I was living life normally, no one would have known anything was wrong, but this was all going on, and I was just managing getting down to Addenbrooke's, like driving myself there, trying to run my own hairdressing business, do life. And no one really understood it. There was no one else in my life that had anything like that. And it exacerbated that there's something wrong with me kind of process. So between that and kind of 24, 25, those were the worst kind of, but discovery years, I suppose, of noticing. And now when I look back, it's like I can't even remember what it might have been like to feel that way, shut down, probably very depressed, dysregulated, dissociated, I would say, from my body and from life. I was existing. And I didn't really know how to connect to what I now know as happiness. I'm not sure I knew what it actually felt like at all.
But probably, I mean, when I think to what I was like at that age, our happiness was going out in the weekend getting absolutely smashed at a nightclub.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite a quiet girl, very shy, painfully shy growing up. So although I could be a bit of a party girl, I was always pretty quiet in that environment. It was more about kind of dancing and stuff like that. I wasn't really, I was always pretty quiet and needed that quiet, which obviously, a lot of people took the piss out of me for as well, because I was quiet and serious and yeah. And always
the
was.
moody teen.
Yeah, that kind of, and I always needed quiet time and shut down. Now I recognise what that was.
Yeah.
And I give myself that now. Like I'm actually quite an introvert, and that's okay. But then it would have been like, oh, he's so boring, that kind of thing. So yeah, I wasn't. I still love a good dance. Love a glass of wine, a good dance, and a good meal out. But I know when I'm done.
Yeah.
Whereas then I would have. Yeah, I didn't have any confidence, no self-esteem. I mean, I wouldn't have said low, like no, and always thought I was. Life happened to me. This shit is happening to me, and there's no way out. That's really how I felt at that age until I started a little bit of fight back. So yeah, in those moments, the consultant that I hated, stopped you from smoking. That's the whole story in itself. Gave me some information, and I had to beg him for it, by the way. But the smoking part of it was excellent. I gave up, and I started to look after my health a lot more, because obviously I recognised the damage that I'd done through smoking. So trying to get some more air in my lungs and to eat slightly better and understand that a little bit more. I started to research really deeply into books, anatomy and physiology, that I hadn't had when I was going through school. And yeah, just looking at things a little bit differently. But he also said, you're HLA-B27 positive. And when I started to look into that, it didn't.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I was like, what? Hold on a minute. But that means that you kind of have something that kind of predisposes you to other autoimmune, not very nice autoimmune diseases, such as ankylosing spondylitis and things like that. So, I wasn't keen on having that. So I kind of gave myself a kick up the arse, but having that information was frightening, but also good. Yeah. And then we kind of carried on for a while after that. I still went for visits, I still got flare-ups, but I was
it always in the eyes?
Yeah, after that, it kind of I always had it in my right eye, then it hit me really hard in my left eye. And that's where the cataract was. And then it would ping around a little bit, but it's funny how it's always the one eye, isn't it? It's really strange. The sarcoidosis I'd had during my cataract treatment, I had IV steroids to kind of keep the inflammation down while I was having that, and that seemed to treat the sarcoid, but I had to have regular lung function tests that went on for about 5 years. They were always checking me for all sorts of weird blood disorders and things like that. What is wrong with you? Was the message. Why can't we find out? I think when I used to go back to the clinic in Peterborough, it was very, just pop in, I want you to meet this girl, she's very interesting, which kind of made me roll my eyes. I'm like, why am I interested? And also that was quite scary for me. Like, you're very young to have all of this stuff going on. Yeah, which it kind of made me retreat away from life a little bit and start to look at things the way I was living life. I was still running a hairdressing business, and but I started to go back to college and slowed my life down. I started to garden and stuff like that, getting that settling down kind of phase. But yeah, throughout that time, into right up until probably my late 30s, things kind of bit like that.
Yeah.
But other stuff was coming up. I was very anxious, sleep problems, throughout my teens. I had a lot of thrush and cystitis. That calmed down, but lots of other stuff came along. A lot of emotional reactivity, a lot of triggering, and then what I see now is triggering what I thought was completely normal for me at the time. And then in my 40s, I was doing okay. I'd moved in, but there was some family stuff happened, big family stuff, and my dad died. My marriage had a bit of a tricky period, and I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. Another badge of autoimmune.
And for people that don't know what Graves' disease is,
it is an autoimmune chronic hyperthyroidism. So, a lot of people will have, like, what they say is like they have thyroxine for hypothyroidism, but this is hyper, and like people with Hashimoto's, everything is low functioning. You might put on a bit of weight, you might feel slow. This is like your whole system is in overdrive. And I would describe the thyroid as like an accelerator pedal, really. So you switch on and switch off, and mine was on all the time. Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It was, people say it's like ADHD, PMDD, Alzheimer's, everything rolled into one. And I would say a lot more than that. You don't even know who you are anymore. And now when I reflect back, I actually didn't know who I was anymore. I dropped underneath the radar of everybody else's life and didn't really know how to speak my voice.
Just interesting thyroids here.
Yeah, and it's still, I still struggle, that part of me that, from my younger self that was very shy, very shut down. That's still there, but it's like now I know I can work with that. And it was an intensely difficult time. And I still when I was first diagnosed, I was still trying to run, and my heart rate was like 130 at rest. I was still trying to run until the GP was like, I think you want to
not do that.
Slow down a little bit, love. I was still trying to run and weights and stuff because I had all this energy. When it was good, I had all this energy. It was like, go, go, go. But my hair was falling out. My eyes started to bulge. I lost weight. I looked like death. Never will I moan about weight again, really. Honestly, my eyes were like sunken in. I couldn't sleep at night, and then I wanted to sleep all day. I was triggered, paranoid. At one point, I had a little tic. It created untold mayhem in my personal life, and people that didn't understand it just stepped away. And when I actually stopped to deal with it and said, right, okay, I can't do this anymore, I can't cope with it, I'm going to have to do it differently, I lost more people than when I was shouting at them, which is interesting, isn't it? So I always say, I call it kind of Project Emma. I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to have to do it differently. I don't know how, but if I don't, I'm going to die. That's really where I was. I'm going to either die in the state of, never resolving what's going on in my body, or I'm just going to die inside. So there was no option for me, really. I know for some they can go with it for a year. I just couldn't live like that. Something horrible would have happened. Yeah, my marriage was struggling and everything slowed right down. So I dealt with my diet. I did as everyone does, go on a very restrictive AIP diet and bored everyone to shit with nutrition. I did yoga, and I mean I literally couldn't do anything. Like I would try to do 10 minutes of yoga and I couldn't hold myself in a down dog for any more than about 2 seconds. Couldn't get upstairs without being out of breath. I'd nana naps in the afternoon, but I needed it. Like I just needed it. So bought myself a camera. It was a really hot summer. Took myself out for walks, slowed down, went swimming again, started to write, started to reconnect to the little bits of me that still were there, that were still alive but had been lost, found some music. And that's when I found Kundalini yoga for meditation, and that started to lift me out of a big pit, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I still can't describe it. Some people might call it an awakening or whatever. I think it just allowed me to feel strong again and to find purpose and to believe in a bit of magic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
The thought that came to me there when you said you found Kundalini yoga is like she joined a cult, which is like a high risk for people in our situation.
And I did.
You do. It's part of the journey, I think.
And I did
cult and
find
then
any
get
cults
back
over the time that I was, but in lots of ways, I've always been a little bit like that as well. I don't believe in gurus or anything, so I did it for my own exploration, curiosity. So I was never addicted to how it was, although the discipline in it was, a little bit. I probably needed it, but maybe not so. But what I noticed in there was a more connection when I was, because it probably gave me some moments away out of the chaos, gave me the stillness where I was able to kind of sit still and listen to the voice inside. That's maybe what it did within those moments. And it wasn't pleasant. It really wasn't pleasant. And then I started to get a little bit stronger, I suppose, and just worked on getting into remission, really. My marriage broke down and I moved to Glasgow. I escaped out of my job. Obviously, COVID happened and everything, which triggered the shit out of me as well. So, that was a tough time too. There's a pattern there, right?
And then you met me.
And then I met you. And like, even though I was in remission and I had no symptoms, I was still anxious, didn't want to be in my own body still. And so there were big moments where loads had shifted, healthy, wiser, richer in my life, but still everything was coming up. And that's when, I suppose, with menopause reaching me, that's when things brought some childhood stuff to the fore, and I started to look at things a bit more. Had to, really. So my experience of life was I'm happy and I can do things and I'm healthy and all my bloods are great, but I still felt icky. So I found eye movement therapy, and since then it's been amazing. Loads of tools and tips along the way, food, sleep, everything that I use, Reiki, loads of stuff.
Do you find that you hit sort of a level of, I feel so much better, I forgot how good it feels to feel well, and then you unravel another layer and you go, oh my God, I feel better, and you think that you found vitality, but then there's more to it.
I was thinking about that on the walk this morning. Like, if this was me 30 years ago, I wouldn't have been, oh, look at the sky, look at that. I would have been like, and I literally walked to get through depression. I didn't know I was doing that, but I just was so low, and I just find myself, I mean, walking in Lincolnshire is not that great, actually. It's very flat and long roads, and you feel like you never get, there's a metaphor in that, right, as well. So it's been long, the piece of the puzzle was really understanding and connecting the dots between a lot of that early life stress, there's been so many aha moments since finding, you know, nervous system education, regulation, root cause, somatic awareness, understanding how my history has affected my life, the good and bad. Yeah, and maybe you can only do it by going through your life like that. Maybe I'm just one of those awkward people that has to live life a bit backwards, you know?
I think anybody who's on a healing journey discovers that themselves, because if you are always healthy and have no challenges, there's nothing to make you reflect back and look on, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Because healthy is just what healthy is to you. I think about people that I know that are now in their 70s and they've never had anything worse really than a cold.
Yeah.
Maybe chickenpox and German measles or measles when they were kids. But they're like, they've never had chronic pain, they've never had any kind of health condition, and they're quite happy to just keep plodding along. There's nothing that's calling them back to look at anything that's happened within their earlier life.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's funny because I would have said, oh, I never was ill. Like, when I look at, I still went to work every day. I still had a life. I still created relationships. They weren't brilliant, but do you know what I mean? In essence, I was still living, I would call it that now, living a life that on the outside looked okay.
Yeah.
I felt like shit in it, but it looked okay. And I think that is how I work now. The symptoms are just, they're the things that tell you what's going on.
It's like the symptoms are like the smoke alarm.
Yeah,
but pay attention to this.
You know what I called normal and living life was really not how I live now.
Yeah,
like there was no connection to any spirituality. I was looking for something to help fill this massive hole inside, and I didn't know what the hole was or how big it looked or even where it came from. So how can you feel like, so you're constantly dragging bits of information and trying to build relationships that help you resolve that, and actually it was just me all along, which is really a bit sad. And I still, like, I'm a bit teary now talking about it, but so important for the people to see that. Look, I am getting a bit teary, but it's so important for the people. Oh God,
you're allowed to.
Just for the people to see that you know, that might be their journey as well. Yeah,
I think we've just recorded a couple of episodes that are going to come out in future, and one of the things that Bronwyn said was it's a lot about inside out rather than outside in. And I think my journey, I was looking outside for the things to bring in to help, which is why you end up getting caught up in cults.
Every cult.
Every
everything.
Because you are looking for that person outside that's going to guide you. But it's how do we get in touch with that internal guide? Because the guru's living inside you, not.
And in a way, you know, although Kundalini Yoga was like, I think the discipline and the quietness and the early morning starts were the thing that gave me the space to explore who I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd already done, again, cold Brahma Kumaris, but, you know, I was searching for something that would help me connect to that part of me that, and so intrinsically knew as soon as I sat in those spaces, this is it. And even though it was built around a lot of spiritual language and stuff, I suppose that's where I am now, is whatever I teach, it's because it's an embodiment of all of that stuff. So it isn't just Kundalini Yoga, it's restorative yoga, it's breath, it's understanding how the body works, it's nervous system, it's all of those things that I implement in what I teach in everything really now. So all of it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's all the building blocks.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it could have gone
it's like
the other way.
Yellow brick road. Yeah, but then it's that fork in the road. When you've got a diagnosis, you then have this path that you can move forward on. What path do you go? Do you go down the victim path where I'll just take the medication and keep my life as it is? Or do I take the medication and also what else can I do? Where can I take that responsibility and do what I can do to help? And I remember speaking to somebody on my own podcast and saying, you know, if I ever end up on a surgeon's table, I want to know that I have done everything in my power to reduce the risk of getting there, so that I don't get on that, I don't end up in that situation going, oh, I wish I had just tried, I wish I had just done.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when I the people that I follow that teach what I teach, but way more than I teach, they're very embodied practitioners, and the person that I love the most is like Karen Cowan, who is like a embodied psychotherapist, but she also went through a cult, you know, and was taught by Yogi Bhajan and stuff, and how she now teaches what she calls Kundalini Global, which is her understanding of embodied practice of Kundalini Yoga. And that's who I wanted to train with, but I didn't have the money. And how she uses that knowledge. And that's what's important sometimes, that we need to experience those things to be able to shift up the knowledge a little bit, to give it an extra layer, to give it a bit more of an understanding. Same with Reiki, you know, and all the other things that I learned. Yoga for you, like, you know, like the mantra thing, you're like, oh, no, sorry. But, you know, so, yeah, you need to ask me a question now because I've completely lost on a tangent.
In the thought. So thinking about your journey, what would be one message that you would give people that are maybe just sitting with a diagnosis and just discovered us and going, what I do?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I want to say don't give up, but kind of that's a bit too simplistic, really. But that's,
I think of Brian Adams saying that.
But it is kind of, I suppose I've always had a little bit of a fuck 'em button. You know, I don't really care. Do you know what? I don't believe you. That little part of me that always existed, that wanted to prove people wrong, actually got me through an awful lot of stuff. So how could I reinterpret that message so it's not just fuck 'em? You know,
there's the spark inside you, that's going, there's another way.
Don't let go of that voice, because even when I was so lost and depressed and walking down those roads, there was something that drove me to go for a walk and not just sit in front of telly. You know, whatever that impulse is to get you moving, whether it be going on a course or not, don't not listen to it. Always start to listen to that, even if it's tiny, that little voice inside, and always do it your own way and never do it anyone else's way, because your way is the only way. Yeah, that would be it. I'd probably say shed loads more than that, but yeah. That felt like a lot.
That's cathartic.
That's a whole lot of life in a very short
lot of Emma.
It's a whole lot of Emma.
And overcoming episodes, we will learn little bits more when we have conversations with other people.
I feel like I need a therapy session now. So yeah, this is where you can find our stories. This is where you can start to.
Do you want me to share any of mine, or are you not interested in mine?
I thought we were going to do it separately. We need to cut that bit now.
No, we don't. It's a real life.
See, there's me being guided by Jen. I'm thinking we're gonna like do her story on a separate thing.
No, we're doing this as one episode.
Okay, talk to me. If only we actually spoke to each other about something that we're going to do practically in these sessions, other than what's going on in our lives and checking my feet for things like, you know, that would be great, because that's what we were doing before we got
this. And I think like a big part of this little bit in the podcast is about us letting go of perfectionism.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Because that's been a big part of both of our journeys, right? Is about, I can't get anything wrong, I can't do anything wrong, I've got to show up perfectly, I've got to. So by being real.
Yeah, and we said that today, like
we are not highly polished.
I've done a dirty, I'm like not showered, you know, all that kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the beginnings of your journey, because often we talk about when you diagnosed, but I know there was a lot more before that. So maybe
well, the day I was born, I wasn't breathing. Took a reaction to medication that my mum had been given, and so then I was weeked away to get me breathing again.
Yeah.
At 18 months was diagnosed. I had eczema. which is very common in young children, particularly ones that weren't breastfed. Not my mum's fault. It was the late 70s. Breast was not best. Formula was the way forward.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Gut health was damaged at a very young age through the fault, probably. I was going to name a brand there, I better not in case they sue us. Yeah, let's not do that. And you can look up yourself who makes formula.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. Yeah.
So there was that, and then so I lived with that, getting given steroid cream throughout.
Really early on.
Yeah, from 18 months right through. It was always the really inflamed stuff in my joints.
Yeah,
that,
like all
that I
the
got.
little parts of your arms.
Yeah, so it was wrist, elbows, armpits, back of the knees, top of the thigh. The really hot, really red, really inflamed. I was what my mum called a willful child.
My mum would describe me very similarly.
Very curious.
Yeah.
Didn't want to accept what I was being told, like always questioning. But when I went into the school system, when you're there with all like 30 children and this person at the front telling you how to sit, how to move, how to behave, and I would always at break time, and I think I can't remember if this was something we worked on when we did the IEMT thing, when at break time I would always hide in the classroom instead of going out because I needed that quiet time. I needed to just.
We did not work on that. That means
did we not? Okay, we'll circle back to that. I knew myself that I needed to be, I didn't want to go out and play with the other kids because I just had spent however many hours with them in a classroom, didn't really like any of them anyway. But then the janitor would come in and be like, no, you need to get outside. And an adult was always telling me from a very young age, no, you're wrong. Like you know what your needs are, but you're not allowed to do that. You've got to do it this way. At lunchtime, I would always go to the auxiliary and be like, oh, I've got so much stomach, can I go and lie in the medical room?
That's incredible, isn't it?
It's always like,
like a message.
How do I get myself away from all this noise because I just need quiet and I just need to lie down and reset. And as a very young child, I knew that, but it was deconditioned. I unlearned that.
Yeah.
So then started having to present myself, and then I presented my anxiety as controlled eating. Like not eating.
By the way, you use controlled, like just not.
Yeah, just like I'll not eat, or I'll only eat this one type of food.
Yeah.
Until I couldn't face it anymore.
Very disordered.
Like I would only eat an apple and crackers. I would only have super noodles.
That's so controlled.
Like so controlled. And then mid-teens found alcohol.
I mean, that was the best for me. Like something to do.
Yeah, I was like 13 or 14. My aunt had died when I was 11. A lot of emotional trauma around that because she was only 47 when she died. We didn't know that she was living with cancer, and that's what had taken her until after she had died. So it was very unexpected for us. All of that emotion. I then changed schools. So I was going into a whole lot of people that didn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
I changed who I was because I had been the very quiet person, didn't speak out. That was the girl that had lost her aunt, went to this other school, nobody knew me, and then became kind of loud and boisterous.
Yeah.
Then found alcohol, which I thought I was doing to make me cool. But in retrospect, I was like, that took away the pain. That soothed, that helped me feel safe.
Yeah.
To be able to move forward. And so that went on. So from 13, 14 up to 35.
This is my new medicine.
Yeah.
When
as soon as I could get into nightclubs and go out partying, that's where I was. I wanted to be out. I wanted to be in the dance floor. I wanted to be drunk or high or whatever to numb the noise.
It is the noise, yeah.
And then went overseas to work. When I came back, because I had been drinking so much, I had ballooned up, found the health and fitness world, ta-da, and then got addicted to going to the gym. And how can I fix my body? How can I lose weight?
Still drinking,
but still drinking. Even more control with the eating, because although I was eating healthy, I was weighing everything.
Wow.
I remember going to work with 20 grams of raisins, 20 grams of almonds, 20 grams of peanuts. That was my snack for the day, with a cup of soup for my lunch.
I mean, so malnourished, it's unbelievable.
And then, so did all that, then went travelling again, when I was traveling, I drank a lot less.
Mm.
I went through little phases of being
Yeah, bit of
sober.
purging.
And because I was traveling and going around Southeast Asia and things, I had to learn to eat because I didn't have super noodles.
Oh my God, what?
So I had to learn how to eat. So I would eat vegetarian food. I would only eat vegetables because that again felt safe, but there was an element of control there for me. Moved to got I was married and amongst all of this.
That's a whole other podcast.
Moved to Australia. In Australia, not long after the 2005 tsunami, the Boxing Day tsunami, in Australia, I was living on the East Coast. We were put on tsunami alert, so that was a very fresh memory. And I remember thinking, I don't want to die in this country. And then was like, oh, I'm meant to be living here permanently. I don't want that. So I don't want to live here. I do not want to live here permanently. So I was going home for my cousin's wedding, and as soon as I flew into UK airspace, I could feel my whole body go, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. So when I then went back to Australia, I had to put in plan how do I then move back. So that still took a couple of years because I was there on a permanent residency visa. And I thought, I don't want to get back to the UK and go, oh shit, I've changed my mind, I want to go back and lose my visa. So I waited till I had permanent residency status, came back. As soon as I was back, I was in college training to do health and fitness.
So no, I'm reintegrating or finding out anything about myself. I'm just boom, 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 boom.
What's the next thing I'm going to do? What's the next thing I'm going to achieve? So my then husband had come back with me, but I knew before we left he didn't want to come because he was having health issues. He lost tons of weight. His thyroid was playing up. He was having palpitations, and I had said, like, do you not want to come back? No, 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 we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Came back, he just got stoned all the time. Didn't connect with any of his former friends. A year later, we had to have that drunken conversation at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like,
I've had many.
You don't. You need to go back home. So
which is, I mean, emotionally, really, it doesn't matter how you feel about the relationship or the time or the other person. It's huge emotional when you've been together for a long time and you've had all that pinging around. It's massive.
And it was like from 22 to 29 that we had 23 to 29 that we had been together, so that was like really formative. I had grown a lot because
really early relationships
and so that relationship ending felt like the right thing to do, but I didn't allow myself to grieve from it because it was the right thing and it wouldn't have been fair to have him stay here and all that stuff. And I was back at college and I'm achieving and I'm doing things and keep him busy.
I don't need to think about that because I'm going there.
So I'm full-time in college, working a part-time job at night, partying all weekends, and going to the gym to do all my fitness stuff on top of that.
You need to get rid of the shit that you had the other night. That's the whole point, right? Is that you drink away and then you've got to actually kill yourself in the gym to get rid of all the stuff that you've done the night before.
I would go out on Friday night, teach a class at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, on the bike shaking, like so glad it was a stationary bike and my feet were clipped in because I shouldn't have even driven there.
Oh, I remember those hairdressing days. Like, you get
asleep.
How have I even How have I even got here? How did I get here to work? Oh, fine. We're here. Let's be fine.
So we broke up. I then decided I'm running a marathon.
Of course.
Edinburgh Marathon's in I think it's early May. So that meant I would have to have trained over the winter. It was cold and wet, and it was December. It was winter 2010. We had snowed out in Glasgow. We had a really long, very -13 winter, really unusual. So there was no way I was running in that. So got to May. The furthest I think I had run was 20 kilometres, and I did that by accident because me and my flatmate went for a run with like a 500ml bottle of water and nothing else, and we were like, oh, let's go along the canal, oh, let's go this way, and then the next thing we knew we had run 20 kilometres.
Just bouncing off each other all the way.
Pretty much, so Edinburgh Marathon, untrained, in physical pain because I hadn't conditioned myself for that. But tick the box, I run a marathon. I was doing it to try and feel something. My back's covered in tattoos because I was trying to feel. I wanted to feel pain. I wanted to have that release. And you hear young people, like so many people self-harming. And I'm like,
but it is. It's like
that. I get that because that's what I did.
That's what I
did with the tattoos. It was like, how do I feel something? Ran a marathon, was in pain, didn't feel a sense of achievement, didn't congratulate. What's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing I can do?
Yeah.
Then 2017, late 2016, something's not quite right. Got pain in my backside, loads of mouth ulcers. My dentist was like, you've got these recurring ulcers, you should really speak to the doctor. Had some blood tests done, all your bloods are fine. You're just somebody that gets ulcers, on you go. So that was like October, November. And by the late January, I was like, my mouth's really sore, my butthole's really sore, something's not right here, starting to go to the toilet more often. I'll change my diet. I'll go on a restrictive diet.
Could you be any more restrictive?
I'll do a detox.
Yeah, I mean, coffee enemas and detoxes and water fasts were my way of bringing my body back into health.
Yeah, so thought I'll just try and suss this out myself. And the reason I remember the date is because it's the day before my dad's and my brother's birthday, 7th of February. I'm trying to teach a spinning class where I can barely stand, holding on to the bike. So I wasn't teaching on the bike because I literally couldn't sit. The pain in my backside was so bad. Every time I put my heel down, I would get a shooting pain because the pelvic floor would engage. Turns out I had an abscess in my butthole, so when the pelvic floor was engaging, it was squeezing that abscess, and that's causing the pain. So taught this class at lunchtime, and I was like, I have to phone the doctor because I think I'm going to pass out. So I phoned the GP surgery, and I was like, I really need to see a doctor. Can you come in an hour? That I nearly fell over because you never get a doctor's appointment within an hour. Went down,
especially not now.
I have recently. I went in anyway. Different story. It's not tangent. I'm on a train line here. We're going the right destination. Saw the practice manager, and he was like, "Right, tell me what's going on." Told him about the mouth ulcers. Told him about the pain in my backside. Told him I was like, my stomach feels anxious all the time, but I don't have anything to be anxious about. As soon as I eat, I'm having to go to the toilet. And he was like, "Any other symptoms?" Like, he kept asking, and he's like, "I think you've got inflammatory bowel disease." And I went, "I don't know what that is."
And
like, well, what's the tablet that I take for that? Like, what's the story? So he's like, "Right, I need you to do a stool sample. We need to do some blood tests. How do you feel about a colonoscopy?" And I went, "I don't know. What is a colonoscopy?" It's like, "We're going to send a wee camera up your back passage." And I went, "Not super excited about that.
Not for me.
But if it needs to happen," even it's about a 12-week waiting list, like waiting time for it. So I'd handed my samples in, and then he's like, "Yeah, you're going to have to go for a colonoscopy much sooner than that. That's because your inflammation markers are off the charts." He's like, "On the stool sample, we count up to 1800. Yours is 1800 plus. Your CRP, which is your C-reactive protein, which is a blood marker for inflammation, we count that up to 200. Yours is 200 plus. You have got chronic inflammation in your body. Do you need a sick line?" And I was like, "I'm self-employed, I can't take any time off sick."
And there's the other thing, right? They keep going, they keep pushing.
Yeah, they keep going, they keep pushing. So that was very early February. By the very early March, I had a full diagnosis. I had my colonoscopy, and I had a full diagnosis of Crohn's. It was diagnosed as severe Crohn's colitis because inflammation was only in my bowel and it was patchy, and that's how the differentiation between Crohn's and colitis. But I had ulcerations within the bowel as well, but also the ulcers in my mouth, which nobody looked at until like five like appointments later, because I kept going on about these mouth ulcers, and they would kind of see the mouth ulcers, and when I pulled my lip and he went, "Oh, that looks really sore," because they were 2 centimeters.
Can you tell everyone a little bit more about Crohn's disease so that people kind of
So Crohn's disease is it's classed as an inflammatory bowel condition. You can get inflammation anywhere in your digestive tract, from the mouth to the anus, but also it causes inflammation in other places. So I also had uveitis as one of the symptoms on one of my flares. I've had sleep syndrome, which you get welts that look like kind of like acne spots, but different. And they come up and they can't burst them. You need to get steroids for them. I got what's it called? Spontaneous arthritis. So knee joints, ankle joints were really inflamed. My wrists got inflamed. I had another thing which I think is called erythema nodosum. would get inflammation within the fatty tissue, big lumps around my body.
Very painful as well.
Very, very painful. My whole foot and ankle would swell up from it. So it's not just a bowel
When you think about
condition.
your bowel, it's kind of everything.
Everything's controlled from here. So we now know the gut microbiome lives in the colon. It controls mood, emotion, hormones.
Yeah, because I think I've met a lot of people that have the diagnosis of Crohn's that don't fully understand the you know the massiveness of that diagnosis.
Yeah. So there was a lot to take on board with that, because straight away I was like, well, what can I do to help myself? What do I need to do? And then that brought me to Reiki, because I was go all the time. I then couldn't go all the time. I had literally had to give up all my classes that I was teaching, had to give up all my work, had to take time off. I was still trying to go to my personal training clients, so I was walking with a crutch. And when I say walking, I mean,
I don't need to say anything because my face was
I'm like sliding down the wall because I couldn't stand for any length of time. I had no energy. I would go in, talk my PC, but I couldn't even lift anything. I couldn't lift anything up. Lifting a phone up was agony, because you've got so much inflammation in the bowel. All your muscles connect to the pelvis in your body. So anything that needs to connect to hold your posture was squeezing the bowel muscles. So you were like, oh my God, I'm in agony. Like, when I think back, I'm like,
I'm still
going.
Because I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? Because your mind tells you must and you have to, because without that, there's always that.
I'm self-employed and I'm not earning money.
I was guilty. I mean, I worked in NHS and I felt guilty for having any more time.
I'm letting my clients down, all that sort of stuff. So that journey started in 2017. Responded to the initial medication very quickly and got into remission very quickly, and I was determined I was coming off medication, so got off the medication really quickly and did great for a year. Then my gran passed away, and the emotional trauma of that came up, because I knew that I'd already been doing research in the body mind emotion connection, because I was like, why is this happening to me? Like,
angry,
unpicking, like, why is my body inflamed? Where does inflammation come from? And I'm looking at, well, there's sleep disruption, there's this, there's that, there's the next thing, all these things. So there was a lot of self-blame. I have done this to myself, I need to fix this by myself.
That self-blame.
I have not processed my trauma. So then when my gran died, I was like, oh, I've got 30 years worth of trauma to process all together at this one time. How am I going to do that? And the stress of that story I was telling myself about, instead of letting myself just feel the emotion of grief,
and slowly,
I was trying to fix it. I have to heal this. I have to make this.
I can just cry today. Everything will be better tomorrow. And
then didn't want to go back on the medications that they were giving me. So I was like, right, I need to go to the alternative route. So traditional Chinese medicine, went for acupuncture and the Chinese herbs, and got a little bit of relief. The doctor that I first dealt with was amazing. He was one of these doctors that came in, put his hand on your shoulder, couldn't speak English, but he looked in your eye, and he was like, you're going to be okay. Totally felt safe, reassured. That safety that we speak about.
Just humanness.
So I responded to his treatment really well and got back into remission. Then he went back to China, and I was left with his son. And his son did not make eye contact. He walked in the room, I'm lying naked with a towel over me, whips the towel off, he's got headphones over his ears, and then just starts stabbing needles in.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that's sore. And he would look at me, and it felt like disgust. And again, he didn't speak English, so it was really difficult to communicate.
I mean, that's a trauma in itself.
And he kept saying, and his son was 8, so his son standing at the side trying to interpret, and he kept talking about IBS, and I was like, I don't have IBS. Like, IBD, it's completely different. And they were like, oh, you need to do exercise, you need to do sit-ups. Like, I can barely walk. What are you talking about?
So not looked at your notes then.
Not looked at the extensive notes that his dad had written, because the day I came in, he didn't even know he had that appointment with me, so it was very quick.
So not good.
So that then put me right back into a massive flare, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to go back to the hospital. but this was a few months down the line, and I was like, well, maybe next time I won't wait so long.
Yeah.
However, got into remission, came off the medication again, then got a virus. The virus then triggered, post-viral, then triggered another immune response that didn't start as bowel issues. It started as joint issues, so I couldn't pick anything up.
Yeah.
In pain. Then the erythema nodosum flared up, couldn't walk. Chris was having to pick me up, put me in the shower, wash me, dry me, dress me.
It's a tricky thing.
Still teaching my classes online, because why wouldn't I be?
I mean, why wouldn't you?
And again, left it 3 months before I went to the doctor. I was like, I just need to rest. That's all I need to do. I just need to rest.
There's my mind.
Anyway, went back on, and eventually, the first time I went to go on medication, I couldn't because I got hospitalised that time because I had another abscess in my rectum, so I was then on antibiotics, and I couldn't go on the Crohn's medication because it's an immune suppressant. So I had to wait till I finished the antibiotics. Was just about to go on to the medication, then I got a cyst in my labia, my lips,
For those of you that know anatomy, welcome.
It's in your lady part.
She has extensive anatomy knowledge.
So then I had to go on another course of antibiotics, and then after I finished them, I could eventually then start on this medication. And because I had had so many allergic reactions to previous medications, the process was really slow. And I was doing that, and I was also taking hair, like I was working with a medical herbalist and other alternative things that I had picked up on this journey from 2017. Because
from cults.
Yes, there was I hadn't touched on the cults that I joined. There was lots of things that I had learned. So I think at that point I was doing the 5 a.m. rises with the meditation and the yoga and all the stuff that everybody was telling me I had to do to get myself. And I'm like, but I'm jittering and I'm waking up feeling anxious and feeling nervous. I need to do more. I need to do more. And actually it turned out I needed to stop setting an alarm and let my body sleep until I woke up, and then slowly start my day. Once I learned.
Interesting, that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah,
same.
There's lots of learning. So now so that last flare was 2022, we're now 2026. I'm still on my medication. I didn't come off.
Your energy levels, like from what we've had bouts of being in and out because of my own shit and your own shit. But just to see the growth in that learning, that last kind of episode of like, okay, this has got to be done, and how much energy you have now, how you manage that, it's incredible.
And like when I was saying to you that I'm starting to feel better, like it took a year being on that medication before I started to feel a little bit better, but there was still tons of fatigue. I was still working really, really limited, and then I would find a supplement or something that I would add in, and my body was accepting it and absorbing it, and then I started, now I feel better. And then another year would pass, now I feel better, and then another year would pass. But it's been gradually working with plants and herbs, and
we forget that, right? That the things that we're putting away, this is what that's my new year, new you rant again. Let's have some celery juice and nothing else to eat in January after you've been pigging out on loads of wine and chocolate. It's gonna blow your system out of the water, and that's what we're talking about now. Is that I've been ill for so long. I mean, even though the symptoms arose there, that had been going on for shed loads of time before that happened. I noticed how quickly it arose and how much of an effect it had on me so quickly, which wasn't something, I suppose I could still function with Graves in lots of ways, but that wipeout, that could have happened. And it did to an extent, but not to a point where I couldn't do things for myself. It was more like managing fatigue and weakness. Noticing that and not rebuilding with something big and dramatic, but slowly from a point of, I'm fucked.
And
it doesn't matter what I do right now, pushing any further isn't going to change it. But implementing those steps has been successful for you in so many ways.
And a lot of it was what can I stop doing? And that last flare in 2022, I took a month off work.
Yeah.
Should have been probably 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But when I came back in, I came in really slowly and gradually built that up. And it was, right, how do I listen to my body? How do I respond to my body? All that stuff that I've been learning over the previous 4 years, how to actually put that into place now and stop trying to achieve. And that I had to go for therapy for that to get into this place of acceptance, because I was still very angry with my body, angry with the system, angry with the helplessness that I felt, and had an amazing therapist that I worked with that I got access to through the Catherine McEwen Foundation, who have been brilliant at supporting people living with inflammatory bowel disease and connecting me with other people who are finding their way, not being in victim mode. They're finding their way,
and whatever way that works for them.
Because I think, who was it? It was Laura, when we were talking to her, she's like, stay out of the forums. And I had gone into a couple of forums and gone, oh my God, everybody just wants to talk about what medication, how bad their side effects are, and how bad.
Showing you how bad they feel. And I've dropped into them as like an expert, and it doesn't, it works both ways. Some people are really grateful, but they already know a lot of what I'm saying, and others that just fight back. So that it's such a difficult place to be in.
So it was finding the right spaces to be in, around the right people that weren't cults.
What? Supportive, gentle environments where you could settle in nicely.
And there's not a dogmatic approach to it. It's not, this is how you must do this, is what's right for
information,
you. It's everything I was teaching my clients.
But this is what I do with the Thyroid UK group. It's the same thing. It's just offering a space to teach, to ask what people need. I think that's really important.
For a long time, I was talking to my clients about, how does your body feel today? And I was teaching my early morning spin classes. I'm like, if you got up this morning and you're here out of habit and you feel like crap, just go gentle. But I wasn't doing that myself.
It's interesting, isn't it?
You need to pull back. Don't keep pushing. And I was saying all the right things to them, but not taking on board that advice myself. But now I do.
How does that feel now, looking back on that?
I want to hug her. Right. It was just this. When I look back, I'm like, she felt like she was trying to prove so much to herself, but never stopping and acknowledging the achievements.
I'm not good enough. I need to try harder. Everything, I'm wrong.
I want people to validate my existence, because I want people to go, wow, you're amazing. Wow, look how good you are. Look what you've achieved. And people were saying it, but I wasn't hearing it.
I know it can't enter your system. I don't think, can it, in a way, because you can't. You're always there looking at the next goal. That's the problem. And how you manage life now is very different, but it's much more, you're more alive. That's what I see. You're more alive in your day to day. You go out and enjoy yourself. I mean, you do way more than me. Like, I'm exhausted watching you. It's great. I'm
like, the highlights.
You go and have a lovely time, and I'm just gonna stay still for a little while.
There was also the diagnosis of endometriosis amongst all this as well, that I was told I had. That when I speak to other people that have got endometriosis, I'm like, I don't have all these symptoms, but I don't know how much of that is because of all the stuff that I put in place for managing Crohn's disease. So the few symptoms that I was having caused by the endometriosis, I'm using herbs and things to help navigate that and support my system in that way, and that's working really well for me. But because when I was diagnosed with the Crohn's disease, it was, what is it? It's chronic inflammation. What's causing that inflammation? How do I repair the inflammation? How do I reduce inflammation in my body? And when I worked at it from that, and I think the diagnosis is because you tick enough symptoms to come under this umbrella over here or over there or over there. It's all chronic inflammation. And for you to start exploring what is it that you're holding on to so tightly that your body's going?
The other layer to that now is like the amount of, we talk about inflammation and like, but how many early menopause and the symptoms of early menopause, even if it's not, and the stress system and the HPA axis and how that has an effect on your hormonal system as well. It's like, that's what I want to get. It might be menopause, but you might be able to manage it a lot better if you deal with your fucking stress.
Yes.
Right? It's like, for me, that whole thing is like, if you know what's going on and you can calm yourself, then things are going to get easier. The rest is implementable without force. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you show up now. What I see for you is that taking downtime, and that's a non-negotiable, and that's the first thing that goes in my diary. My sleep is the most important thing, because you know how much your body needs to restore. You know, your food stuff, there's still enjoyment there, and an exploration of your food, which is what I see after a lot of disordered eating. It's like, I don't know whether I'm like this, but actually I'm going to try it.
Yeah,
which is really lovely.
And I think it's because I feel calmer in my system, because before the control was there because I didn't feel safe.
Yeah, of course.
So now that I feel safe,
what if?
Like, oh, it's chicken thigh, let's try it. If I don't like it, that's fine. At least I know I've tried it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has come from support from Chris. So my partner, he came on the scene just before I took Not Well, has been amazing.
Hi, Chris. Fabulous man.
He doesn't listen to my podcast.
He will on this one, I'll make him.
No, I said to him once, I was like, do you ever listen to podcasts? And he went, I live with you as a podcast. I do not need to listen to your podcasts.
But that safe relationship as well, that is like the basis of a lot of stuff too, which I think is really important piece of information to offer, is that those environmental issues are about friendships and things that nourish and support you, and where that relational trauma might sit as well. So we're talking about messages. What would be your final message to the people?
I'm not going to use accept the diagnosis, not the prognosis, because that's like the theme of all the Hamiltons. Well, it's David Hamilton's as well, but it's also the theme of nearly every recording that we've had. I think learning to listen to that inner voice, not the inner critic, not the doubter, not the challenger, the one that's trying to whisper, this is the right thing over here for you, and learning and finding a way to nurture and nourish and trust that. And I think a lot of that comes to having the right people around you.
Absolutely.
So do the people around you, do you feel seen, accepted, loved by them? And if you feel like you're always having to perform to be accepted, then you need to find other people. Because that community is really important.
It's been a huge part of
your nervous system regulation, because if you are always performing, you're in that heightened state of, are they going to accept me, are they going to like me? Whereas if you know that people are accepting you on your good days and your bad days, it doesn't mean you can be are we allowed to say the C word on here?
No.
Okay. It doesn't mean that you can be an absolute asshole to people.
Well done.
Thank you. But it means, like, because sometimes we are assholes, but sometimes we're lovely. And it's people that accept you for all of that. But that comes from you accepting yourself and loving yourself. So is that the tagline then? Accept yourself, accept where you are, and everything else comes from there. Well, my wee tagline is always be kind, be curious. So can you be kind to yourself? Can you be curious about what's going on for you? And then give yourself a bit of love. But I think that can be challenging for people. So it was the biggest challenge of my life. A little bit of love. If you can start with the kindness to yourself and the curiosity about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, you can start there. The love will come. It's slow, steady though. So I think the love yourself tag is all self-love, self-care. It's so difficult. It's so difficult to get there. But start with kindness and curiosity and work from there. There you go, kindness, curiosity, and work from there. So there you have it, both of our stories in a very, well, I say small, but it's summed up in very, it kind of always makes me reflect whenever I talk about what happened to me. It's still kind of, I'm like, wow, I did that, which is great. Look how far we've both come. I know, amazing. How long may it rain that we continue to go on the same path and share, everything that we've done, because I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and my opinions change every day. So we hope this has been of benefit. And the conversations that are coming up are definitely they're worth tune in, watch them, contact us if you've got questions. If you've got a story that you want to share, get in touch, because please do. Please, we need Yeah,
honest
to share the stories.
Honest conversations, and that might be, you might be mid illness, you might be over illness, you might have just been diagnosed, you know, whatever the conversation. If you think you've got something to share, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and do all that, like, follow, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. Check the show notes for how to get in touch with us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Take care.